Hello, if you're watching this, you either clicked on a link or you got my email. If you are not a part of my email thread, just send me a message and say I want to be on your newsletter. Today I want to talk to you guys about perspective and just how to look at your life in a different way, especially if you get these feelings of overwhelm or feel like you're behind or too old or you've let yourself go too much. And at this point, life is just life and it is what it is. And that is so far from the truth because I've seen so many people from the ages of, early age 20s all the way up to 70 plus years old where I've got to personally work with them. And a lot of times you hear people say, I'm too old to do your program, when that is not true, because my program is built for everyone. And I think everybody taps in a completely different way and chooses to plug in at different rates. And so transformations are different. People get different things out of the program that maybe others don't experience as much as, but liked workouts or liked nutrition, whereas a lot of my clients are solely focused on the mindset shift that they have had. Now, don't get me wrong, those people have also had results and they've probably had setbacks as well, but essentially a lot of people realize that the mindset, the mental that we have each day and the way that we shift that is all about the way that we see ourselves. It's the way that we speak to ourselves. It's the way we love on ourselves. And that's what we're going to talk about, is because perspective is everything. And on our mindset training on Sunday, I talked about this, where before you run into 2026, we get to January 1 and everybody's like, run. And it almost feels overwhelming. It almost feels like I have to have my goals figured out, or I should have had them figured out in December, when in fact, I really use January to have that month to prepare and figure out what it is that I want to go for my goals. That is actually when I do my vision board and I get myself on track. And it's not on January 1. It's usually right in the middle. And I shift that around probably 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times, because routine takes time, and knowing what's going to work for you and what's not, and then adjusting it whenever things come up that you didn't necessarily plan. That's just part of it. It is a lifestyle. And so we talked about reflecting on 2025 before we rush into 2026. And my biggest reflection is going to be how I basically felt like I was starting over. Look, my life looks completely different today than it did a year ago. And it's so crazy because last year in January, I was at one of the lowest places of my life because I could see my life essentially falling apart. I could see the home that I had built with somebody shattering, and I knew that it was coming to an end, and I fought it like tooth and nail, trying to hold back that thought and feeling of this is over. And I think a lot of times we don't want it to be over, not because we know it should be, but because it's a comfort zone that we've had for however many years we were in that relationship. And so for me, the biggest thing that came out of that was having a different perspective on where my life was headed, not thinking, oh my God, I'm starting over. I just did 7 years with somebody and that's completely gone and a waste of time, when in fact, no, it wasn't. I learned so much in those 7 years. I grew so much as a person in those 7 years, and I learned how to love myself unconditionally, which essentially is where we grew apart. And when you look back and you think about that and you realize that because I chose to keep feeding into myself, we did grow apart. Yeah, that's sad, but at the same time, that's what happens in life. That's what happens with people. Having two people agreeing on the same thing 24/7 is really hard. And in January, when I was thinking, oh my gosh, is this really it? I didn't want to start over. I was scared to death, right? And so when I got out and got on my own, all of that was fresh, all of that was new. My nervous system was out of whack because for the first time in my life, I was by myself. I had never lived by myself. And at 33 years old, I thought, this is my first time living alone. That's crazy. There was a perspective when I left, that I was starting all over. Everything was happening to me. And I got into that victim mentality of, what am I going to do? Am I going to be okay? Is being alone going to be something that I am okay with or do well with or can sleep at night? Am I going to struggle? Those were all questions in my mind. And then the new, everything being new, the routine being new, me and Dylan being the only ones essentially that I have to care for. And then being a single woman, a single everything, just alone when Dylan was gone. It was just such a wild feeling to realize that I was alone. And for a little bit, you do get into that victim mentality of, oh my God, this is my life. But then it went into, who am I? What do I want? Do I even know what I want? Do I even know who I am? And I had to rebuild myself. And I think a lot of people get to that wall at points in their life and they think, oh my God, I have completely wasted my life. And no, you haven't. You've literally learned so much from all those wrong turns that you made, from all the things that you've done in life or overcome in life. Those were lessons. Those were reasons. There were seasons for all of those things, and people that are no longer with you that once held a special place in your heart and in your life. And so to be bitter over those people and have hate for them or just ill feelings towards them, it holds energy that you don't want to give away. And I quickly realized that when I was holding on to so much anger over one person when I didn't have to. I could let it all go just simply by a decision to focus on me and start to forgive that person for what they did or didn't do. Because two people are in a relationship, and no, not each one is perfect. And if you are ever a client of mine, I don't take sides, okay? There are even moments when I've thought about my past and been like, I could have fixed that, that's where I've got to be better for that next person that comes along and is in my life. And, I can't expect that person to give and give and give to me, or do and do and do for me just because I did one thing and he needs to do 12, So there's just ways and there's just so much that I learned in those 7 years that it was never a waste. And so thinking that I'm starting over in life, no, that's not the case. Thinking I'm having a fresh start to rebuild myself, yes, that is true. And that feels refreshing. So thinking about it in a completely different way and having a whole new perspective was everything to me, because I did sit in that victim mentality for easily the first 90 days. And I ran and I pretended like everything was okay and that my mind wasn't racing, when in fact my nervous system just felt wild. And so going back now and reflecting on it and realizing where I'm at and just seeing all the signs that God gave me, and realizing that like those things weren't happening to me, they were happening for me, for literally this life that I am now building and so excited about. And there once was a time that I was scared to death, that I had no idea what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, what my next turn was. And I've slowly learned to love myself and find myself and be proud of myself for so many things that I was able to see, point out, realize I didn't want to be a part of it, or I didn't want it in my life, and eliminated people or things and grew so much from it because I chose to set boundaries for myself. Was it easy? No. Did I get scared along the way? Absolutely. Were there moments where I was like, can we just turn back now? Everybody and everything just turn good again and we will be good to go. And in fact, no. Like, that would be the simple way for everything to just go back to normal and everyone just act accordingly. We all agree. We all love each other and everything be cool. But the truth of the matter is that we all want to grow and evolve and become that person that we know God put us on this earth to be. And in order to do that, we have to stand firm in our boundaries and who we want to be and the decisions we want to make without anyone else's input on if you should do it or not. And I think as you progress, you realize that there were reasons why, people are no longer in your life. And if you could go back looking at that moment or time, if you can think of one, if you had a different perspective on that situation, how different would it look? How quicker would you have moved on or healed or was able to move forward in a positive way if you just sat in it for a moment longer and recognized what was actually going on, right? And so if there's one thing I learned in 2025, it's patience is everything, and understanding that God's timing is always on time is a real thing. And it doesn't always look pretty because there are going to be hard moments in life. But as long as you keep that freaking head up and you refuse to let anything or anyone stop you from going forward, girl, you got no reason to feel behind. You're doing it. You're moving forward. You're not thinking that you're behind or that you've already, stalled too long and you've lost it all and you just got to settle. No, you don't. You're so far wrong for saying that to yourself, because you're not. You can change this. You can turn that boat around, put 2 feet in the boat, and get your booty back in gear, right? And that's all you have to do, is start loving on yourself. It starts in the most simplest ways, looking at your situation and saying, where can I fix this? Not blaming other people or saying this happened to me because of them. No matter who it was that did something to you, you put yourself in that position. You put that person in your life, and that person probably meant a lot to you at some point in time. So you cannot sit there and just put the blame on them and say it's all them. They're the reason why I'm this way. They're the reason why I'm stuck in a rut. They're the reason why I don't have success. They're the reason why I have no goals. They're the reason why I'm depressed. They're the reason why I have anxiety. No. Because all of that can be turned around with a decision from you to just literally look forward and go. But that has to change up here in order for you to see the transformation that can happen in 2026 for you. So today, after you listen to this, I hope you are so motivated to look back and reflect on 2025. And here's a little homework for you that we did this week. Go grab a little Dollar General white plate. It should be like a ceramic plate. You've probably seen this on the internet. But on that, you write let go of in 2025. And you are going to write out all the things you want to let go of that you held on to in 2025. This can be doubt, jealousy, guilt, anger, forgiveness for yourself, grief, pity. I mean, the list goes on. And there should be a reason why you're saying each one of those things. There should be a moment in time that you had in 2025 that made you say that, because you felt ill about that specific thing, right? Like, you went through grief, you felt that, you did not like that feeling, and you held on to that feeling for way too long. But you're going to fill that out, and then you're going to put it in a big Ziploc bag, and you're going to take it wherever you want to, and on concrete or something hard, and you're going to break it, okay? Because you're going to let go of all of those things that held you back in 2025 from going for everything that you deserve to have in this lifetime, okay? All right. I appreciate you guys so much for staying on here and listening. I hope this helped so much. We do have a ton of deals going on at Life Risers. Right now, we have workouts only that you can do. We have the nutrition bundle that you can do and actually work with Elizabeth for 14 days with accountability that's on sale. We have the 6-week program option that's on sale, and we have the 12-week option promo that's on sale. That is the OG. That is the 90-day program. That is the one I recommend, and it is over $300 off right now, you guys. So take advantage of the prices while you can and ask questions. You never know until you ask. We also have Klarna. Klarna is an interest-free payment plan where it breaks down the payment into 4 interest-free. You have other options that you can do up to a year's time. However, the interest-free option is 4 payments. And so if something is $200, for instance, the nutrition bundle is $99. You can pay $25 down today, and every 2 weeks you can just make a $25 payment. All right, happy Friday. Hope you guys have an amazing weekend. I love you. Ciao.